Hey guys, so today I'm going to be doing a review on the Canon MX432 all-in-one printer. To get right into it, first of all, it's all-in-one, so we can do printing, scanning, copying, and faxing. Right off the bat, I didn't test faxing because I don't have a landline, and I don't really do faxes anymore. You can kind of just scan stuff, it's sort of easier. So I'm just going to hop right into the pros. For print, I think it prints fine. It's not too slow, but it's not too fast. It's kind of in the middle. Kind of got to be a little bit patient with this printer, but the printing was fine. I print a couple of test copies, and the black was fine, the color was fine. It was really clean, no streaking, nothing like that. All you can want in a home printer, I guess. The pictures are pretty good quality too. Like, I printed out an actual color picture. I'll show you on the screen. That's actually scanned. This picture's scanned too, so it's actually a pretty clear picture. It wasn't on gloss paper, so it wasn't that great. If it was on gloss paper, like photo paper, it would be a lot more shiny and stuff, but I don't have any of that either, so I just printed it on a normal piece of paper. I think it looked pretty good, for what it is. Scanning is fine too. Scans at normal speed. I didn't find it to be, too slow or too fast when you're scanning. The color's pretty good too, so here's a picture that I scanned. Don't look at the stuff you can kind of see through, but it's like the actual wiring that I did for this car video that I did. So that's fine too. Color is good, so I'm not complaining about that. Copy is fine too. Normal feed. You can use the top feeder, ADF, automatic document feeder, to do the copies, and then it'll just print it right out. It works fine for me. Yeah, I didn't see anything wrong with that. Let's see. I did AirPrint. AirPrint worked flawlessly. Right after I hooked up the wireless, I tried it on my iPhone. The iPhone didn't have any problems trying to pick up the printer. I picked a website, printed it out, no problem. So I didn't have any trouble with AirPrint. The Wi-Fi itself works fine, but there's an asterisk to this, and that's basically if you can get it to work. So I'll go a little bit more into that later, but once you get the Wi-Fi to work, it's fine. I didn't have any problems with it, but I'll go more into that later. And then we'll hop right on the cons. For printing, the paper feeder is, I think the design on this printer is kind of bad. It's pretty terrible. You put the actual paper on the bottom, and it goes through and sucks up the paper and goes through, and it basically puts the paper right on top. So I'll show you a picture so you can see how close the two trays are, and you can't really put that many pieces of paper into the paper feeder. So that's kind of a big con too. And the two trays are really close together, so it's really hard to just get it to work, that well. It works, but it's not the best setup, I would say. So I would say that this is probably a good printer for home use if you're using it for really light use. But if you have it like in an office setting where you're printing stuff all the time, I wouldn't recommend this printer. That's basically it for the cons. The cons for each specific. Scanning and copying and finding cons, they're fine. They work fine. Okay. So I'm just gonna go into cons like overall now. Okay. So first of all, the instruction manual for this printer is really confusing. You get this big pink sheet, right? And it works fine to the part, like it's step by step, like it should be. But when you get to the Wi-Fi part, that part is really confusing. So, I would have to say, if you're not a tech savvy person, this would be a really hard printer to try and get the Wi-Fi to work. You might be better off just either using the USB port and plugging it in, or just getting another printer to begin with. Because I would consider myself tech savvy, but I found the Wi-Fi part so confusing. So I tried first doing it from the actual instruction thing, and I had no idea what it was talking about. And I'm reading this, and I'm like, what is this? It doesn't really tell you. So then I decided to put the CD in. And it gives you step-by-step instructions, but the instructions assume you know things. And so when I was reading it, I was totally confused still because I didn't know what they were talking about. So the part I'm talking about is, basically what I was doing is I tried doing the push button method, there's like 4 different methods you can get it to work. Like set up the Wi-Fi to talk to your router. Okay. And so I did the push button method, which I thought would be, I think it's the one it recommends on the software. And so it tells you to push the WPS button, but it assumes you know what it is. And I was looking all over the printer for this WPS button. There's no WPS button on there anywhere. I have no idea what they're talking about. So I end up going online, searching WPS button, and what it is, oh, it's a button on your router, okay? And it also says, push the WPS button on your access point. So at the time I was like, what the heck is an access point, right? And then after, when I start reading about this WPS button, oh, okay, access point is in router. So they put access point, not router. So those 2 elements, I think, make it really confusing. So once you get over that, once you figure out your WPS button's on your router, not the printer, then Wi-Fi is a lot easier to set up. So once you figure that out, you push WPS button. There's a button that you push on the actual printer, and then basically they connect. And I have seen reviews where people are saying that if your Wi-Fi is not a numerical, your key is not a numerical number, it's like has letters and stuff in it, it's really hard to set up. But for me personally, I didn't have any trouble with that at all. My password is all letters, no numbers. And basically all I did is I did the push button, I did the WPS, let the printer find, let the Wi-Fi, the printer talk to the router, I don't know, however you want to consider that. And after that, once it found it, on my computer it just came up with the, oh, is this your network? I clicked OK, and then it connected, that's it. Didn't have to do any password entering at all, so I didn't have any trouble with the password thing, so maybe they're using a different method, it's possible. Okay, so that's that part. That's, I think, the big thing a lot of people complain about. The buttons on this machine are kind of confusing, and there's a little display screen, but it's not very helpful either. So, like, if I'm trying to scan, or I guess just scanning, because copying you can kind of do from the printer. It's easy enough to try and figure it out, but scanning, I have so much trouble trying to do it from the actual printer, like pushing the buttons, that I just forget that, and I just use the software, and it's one click, no problem. So I don't think the buttons are really that intuitive, and there's a lot of tape on this printer when it comes from the factory, so be careful of that. There's a lot of red tape. There's also red tape on the back of the printer, so I've seen a lot of reviews, people complaining that the printer doesn't work, and I think it's because a lot of people don't know that there's a piece of tape on the back. So I'll show you a picture. This is where it is. So there's a big strip of tape on the back. You gotta take that off or the printer isn't gonna work correctly. Yeah, so people are complaining that basically their paper gets jammed because of this tape that they haven't taken off. So make sure you take that off. You won't have any problem. From what I've been reading also, the cartridges are kind of expensive, which I think if you buy the OEM ones, they are a little bit expensive. So like in the reviews are saying that this printer, like, cost per paper is kind of high, which I can see if you do print a lot. So, I would kind of recommend this printer more for if you are using it for light home use, not like an office setting. And duplexing, I don't know, if you duplex a lot, I wouldn't recommend this printer either, because you have to duplex it manual, so you gotta, print it, take the paper out, turn around, print it the other side. So do a lot of that. I wouldn't recommend this printer. It does take a little bit of time to warm up. It probably takes over a minute to actually fully turn on. So a little bit slow. And it's a little bit clunky and big. It's not the smallest printer in the world. But, if you have room on your desk, or like I have it on the floor, so I don't really care. It's not a big deal for me. But if it's a big deal for you, I wouldn't recommend this printer either. Okay? I think that's about all the cons. So what I'll do now is I'll just do an overview of the whole printer. So I think basically this printer I'd only buy if you're kind of like in a certain market, if you're a certain type of person. So basically if you're like me, basically I don't print very often at all, but I needed a print, everyone kind of needs a printer to print things, boarding passes, tickets, whatever, you want to print out a document, whatever, right? Scan stuff. So if you're like me, basically you only print very, very seldom, I would definitely recommend this printer. The only thing I really don't like is the paper trays. That's kind of just dumb the way they set that up. That's really the only thing I really don't like. And then, of course, setting up your Wi-Fi was just ridiculous too. But once you get over that and you figure that out, then I think the printer overall works fine. I didn't have any problems with it at all. Just besides it being a tiny bit slow, but just be patient and you're good to go. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it. It's basically, I mean, if you print a lot, like you have an office, something, a small business, whatever, I would not recommend this printer at all. But if you're like me, you just print very, very lightly, then I would definitely recommend this printer. So you're gonna have to decide if like me, or you're like a small business person that uses it a lot. So for me, yeah, I would recommend it because it works fine for me. I have no problems with it at all. But again, it just depends on what you're using it for. So I think that's pretty much it. So I hope this review was helpful, and happy shopping.